Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm here to do my June wrap-up with you, and it's been a really interesting month. For some reason, June just felt like such a long month. Like, I'm sitting here looking at some of the books that I just read, and I'm like, I just read those this month. It feels like I read them a few months ago. I've also been sort of feeling like I'm in a little bit of a social media slump. I definitely haven't been in a reading slump because I've been doing really, really good with my reading, just like crushing it. Owning that TBR, doing so well. But for some reason with social media, I think it's because I just started my brand new Instagram and I was doing really good with it, just like posting photos every single day and making sure I use my good camera equipment and editing them. And it just kind of like burnt me out because I went so hard for the first couple weeks of having this Instagram, and so I've been doing a really bad job with my social media lately. So I'm just glad that I was able to motivate myself to get my butt off the couch and film these videos. So without further ado, let's get right into the books that I read in June of 2016. Alright, so in June, I successfully completed 8 books, and one of them was a bit of a surprise because I didn't think I was going to be able to finish it, but there's a little bit of a funny story behind that one. So I'm going to start with that even though it was the last book that I completed this month, but that was The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. Some of you may have been laughing at me in my June TBR video because I said that this book was over 1,000 pages. I was like super confused about it because looking at it, it's like, it's really the same size as the other books in the series. So I went into the video thinking like, yeah, I can crush this, no problem. And then I opened it and it was like page 1,300. Throughout the whole month, basically, I carried on through this confusion because I was following along, I was reading it on my Kindle, and then every so often I would check in with this book to see where I was at, and all of a sudden I was like, how am I already on page 900? This doesn't make sense to me. The math just wasn't adding up, bottom line. And it turns out, and those of you who have read the series already know this, the page numbers do not restart with each new book. So technically the whole series is just like one long book. And so that is why I was under the impression that this was over 1,000 pages. But then I look and it starts on page 748. So all I had to do was read pages 748 to 1,000 and some, and that was, not gonna lie, a pleasant surprise because I was able to power through this way faster than I thought I was, and it was only on my TBR for 1 month. I love Frodo and Sam as characters. I love their friendship. I know J.R.R. Tolkien said that he viewed Sam as the real hero of The Lord of the Rings, and I totally agree with him because Sam is amazing, and his self-sacrifice and just his love for Frodo was just absolutely groundbreaking and incredible. There were definitely parts of this book that I absolutely adored and loved and that were super, super memorable for me, and there were other parts where I was definitely sort of more skim reading. But overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The first book that I completed in the month of June was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I completed this one in one sitting. Saying that is honestly like a big deal. It's really rare for me to power through a book in one sitting. I don't remember the last time I did it. And usually, even with books that I find that are really good, I find that I have to take breaks, or I honestly don't read fast enough usually to have this many hours to set aside to read a book. But this one, even though it's like 600 pages, I cannot put this one down, and I think that's because of the formatting. You're reading it as if you're reading a bunch of files that have been collected for you to look over. I absolutely love novels like this, and I also really liked the story. There were a couple of tropes used, like a couple of like sci-fi alien tropes in here that were used, but I didn't even care. I honestly didn't even care that there were a couple of cliches that I see like over and over again, because the characters And the overall story was just so fantastic, and I just had like such a wonderful time reading it, and I cannot really wait until the release for the second one. And the next book that I completed in the month of June was Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. This is one of those books that feels like, for some reason, it feels like I read it an eternity ago. I really liked this book. I love this series. This is the third in the Raven Cycle quartet, and yeah, I really liked it. I didn't like it as much as the Dream Thieves, but there are just certain things that I really love about these novels. I think one of my favorite ones is just this sounds weird, but I really like the sort of like overall theme of me feeling absolutely confused throughout the whole novel. It's just a constant feeling that the concepts are just on a whole different level than our brains can even fathom, and for some reason I love that. I don't think that would work in all novels, but these novels have a very high emphasis put on spirituality and dreams, and so in context of those, I really like what Maggie Stiefvater is doing with this, because honestly, they have that dreamlike quality. Maggie Stiefvater is just a really awesome writer for being able to not only have a theme of dreams, but to almost make you feel like the whole time you're reading it, you're just in a nightmare. And the next novel that I completed was The Priest's Graveyard by Ted Dekker. This is the third book in a series that Ted Dekker wrote about. It's just like a different serial killer in every book. And this book I definitely remember as being my favorite, but it had been a while since I had read all of them, and so I couldn't remember why this one stood out, but reading it, I could see why. The story was definitely the most intriguing of the three to me. From an enjoyment aspect, I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. However, I still have a lot of hangups about Ted Dekker as an author, as a writer. A lot of his writing feels a little rushed to me, and some of his concepts and symbolism just feel a little like stretched. In this particular novel, I felt that Ted Dekker was really overplaying the symbolism. He said the priest's graveyard, those words in a sentence at least 5 or 6 times. The second problem that I noticed with this book was all of the voices are the same, and the prose and the vocabulary doesn't change. And that was a big problem that I had with this book, because when I'm reading from the perspective of the businessman, for example, I want vocabulary that sounds to me like I'm talking to somebody who thrives in business. So the vocabulary is definitely going to be different, and I don't feel like Ted Dekker really hit that up very much, and so therefore I didn't find a lot of the characters convincing. Honestly, like I just let myself enjoy the story with this one. I let myself be intrigued by like the psychological aspect to it. I sort of put my literary feelings aside. And I did end up enjoying it. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars with a little asterisk that's for enjoyment only, not taking all the literary problems into account. And I completed one more hard copy book last month, and that was The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. Something that I really loved about the book, it turns out that neither the original cartoon from Disney or the live action was really all that close to the book. To be honest, like the book was completely different than either of them. Each of them just had their special things about them that I really liked. So I like all 3 takes on this story. It was a really fun story, and I really like sometimes when I'm able to just sit back and read a fun story that like kids would enjoy, because kids just love the adventure of it. They're not looking for like literary devices and how the author like developed character or background development. They're just like loving the story and loving the adventure, and so that's what I really enjoyed about this book, just like being taken along for the ride and enjoying the adventure and the characters. And I did complete a couple of audiobooks this month. The first one I completed was After You by Jojo Moyes, and this is the sequel, if you will, to Me Before You. Me Before You is technically a standalone, but this was just like further development of the characters that you loved and wanted to find out more information on. I feel like there was almost a disjointed feeling for me between the character of Lou in Me Before You and the character of Lou in Me After You. For some reason, they just didn't completely feel like the same person to me, and one aspect contributing to that problem might have been the fact that they changed voice actors between the 2 books. Her character was just kind of not the same to me for some reason. She just wasn't like the lovable Lou who was determined and but slightly thrown off all the time. It was still a funny novel, and I still enjoyed all the circumstances that were happening and going on, and sort of seeing what happened to her and her family after the fact. But I almost wish I didn't know. I almost wish I left it alone and up to my own imagination, because the second one was just okay. I think I would give it a 3.5 to 4 out of 5 stars. I think there was just a very large shadow cast by the first book. The next audiobook I completed was Yes Please by Amy Poehler, and this was an interesting choice in hindsight because I actually I don't really watch a lot of SNL. I don't watch Parks and Recreations, so the fact that I picked this novel by this chick who I know of, but I don't really know any of her work, this book was just probably a bad choice for me, as I said, because I'm just not really all that familiar with her with her career. And so I didn't really identify, and I wasn't really interested in a whole lot that was going on that she was talking about in her novel. When she started sort of listing all the companies she was working for and all the people and whatnot, I zoned out a little bit. I just wasn't interested in that because I'm not familiar with her. It still was really funny though. She had a lot of different people come and be voice actors on her book, and she arranged it in a way where it was really funny. They didn't just read from the book. They added something to the book, and those I felt were the parts that were the most funny, where these voice actors were coming in and adding a show. I would probably give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I completed was another audiobook, and that was Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, and I'm excited to say that I actually really liked this one. And I'm excited to say that because the last Rainbow Rowell book I read, Eleanor and Park, I just wasn't really a fan of. I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed what was happening. I found it entertaining and amusing. I really liked Jennifer and Beth as characters. They were just so cute and fun, and it's the friendship that everybody wants to have with your best friend. The circumstances were just really funny. The novel is about Lincoln. His job is actually just to screen emails going back and forth between people in the company and make sure that they're not breaking any rules. But these two girls, Beth and Jennifer, he notices that he actually their conversations, whenever their emails get flagged, he's entertained by these emails, and so he just can't bring himself to report them, and he ends up developing a crush on one of them. And the whole time I honestly was I have no idea how this is gonna end. And that's one thing I really liked about the book. I really like books where I'm sitting there thinking I have no idea how this is going to be resolved. Overall, I think I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, 4 to 4.5. I really enjoyed it. That is it for my June wrap up. I'm really proud of myself for reading all of these books. I know in my June TBR, I was sort of I'm challenging myself with this one. I usually don't read 8 books a month. Usually it ranges from 4 books to 6 books, but in May I did really well, and so June I decided to challenge myself, and I didn't come out disappointed in myself, which I'm really pumped about. So I think I'll continue to challenge myself in the future. If any of you guys have read any of these books and want to chat about them, I'm always open to discussion. Just throw me a comment down below or give me a shout out on Twitter. I'll put all my information down under the video for you. Let me know what you guys read in the month of June as well. I'd love to see your June wrap-up videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you are having a wonderful summer so far. Bye! King, and so Blue kind of gets mixed up with them, and they go on lots of really crazy adventures. I'm really loving this series because for the book Winter by Marissa Meyer. I just finished this book today, so I'm hoping that I can organize my thoughts a little bit and not come across just rambling nonsense.